get up, leave, take off. These are really good words for those who are entrapped or enslaved this morning, don't you think? So why is there such resistance? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee Conversations of Friends of Faith to encourage and equip. I'm Kim Crabill, so delighted to have you joining me this morning. Well, we finished the book of Genesis yesterday. How do you feel about that? You know what? You should congratulate yourself. That's huge. You did it. You stuck with it. And I hope that throughout each day that you found that God was really talking to you and that he was leading you to your more. And that's what God always wants to do, is he's always leading us to our more. But sometimes that means being a little uncomfortable. So welcome to our theme as we continue it, as we skip from, we don't even have to skip, as we step from Genesis into Exodus this morning as we begin. So what I'm going to do today, and thank you for joining me a little early, and I know some of you will be jumping on at 9 o'clock. I hope you find me. I had to do a little early today because I'm filming today. We're filming 8 interviews, so it's a big day around here, so keep us in your prayers. But today, what I wanted to do was just give an overview of the book of Exodus so that as we began to prepare to go into it, just kind of lay a little bit of a foundation so that we can just kind of get an overview and begin to see where God is going to take us. So get up. Leave, take off. Yes, these are some words that you would say to someone if they're enslaved and they've just been set free, right? But we're going to see in the book of Exodus that some resist these marching orders. And I think probably we all have. However, they didn't like their surrounding existence, circumstances. Sometimes it's harder to leave, just stay where we are than to leave. Don't you agree? Sometimes even when we're in a situation that we're not fully aware that God wants us to be there, sometimes change can be very difficult. And this is what we see in the book of Exodus. It's not easy to trade the comfortable security of the known for an uncertain future. When God asks us to do something that's unknown, we're not sure of, it causes trepidation a lot of times. And that's what we're going to feel as we're stepping into our more many times each day. God may ask you to take a step and you think, I don't know. I'm kind of comfortable where I am. And many times we find comfort in our pain and in our hurt because we're not sure what it would be to live outside that, or what would God expect of us if we chose a different way. But what if it's God who gives us the orders to move? What if it's he who comes along and says it's time for your more? Well, would we follow? What are we going to do this year? Well, we're going to get a good taste of that in the book of Exodus. Exodus describes a series of God's calls and the responses to his people. So we're going to be able to learn a lot from these people, and we're going to learn a lot about God. And I think we're going to find ourselves in a lot of these situations. You see, what we're about to enter into is 400 years past since Joseph had moved his family to Egypt. The descendants of Abraham had now grown to over 2 million strong. To Egypt's new Pharaoh, these Hebrews were foreigners, and their numbers were frightening. You can imagine that. You can kind of imagine that in the world that we are in today, where we have people coming into our country. Whether we like it or not, it can be scary to different people, and that's what we see with this new Pharaoh. So what did Pharaoh decide to do? He decided to make them slaves so they wouldn't upset the balance of power. So many times it's all about power, isn't it? So many times it's about power. Well, what we're going to see as we study into the book of Exodus, as we walk into each chapter, we're going to see that was his biggest mistake, because then God came to rescue his people. Friends, no matter where you are and what situation you're in, and it may seem like God's taken a while, but God has promised to rescue us. Where you are is not where you'll always be. Many times we just have to take the step that God is giving us to actually step into our more. We're going to read in this new book of Exodus, we're going to read that through a series of strange events, the Hebrew boy named who? Moses became the prince in Pharaoh's palace. We're going to read all about that. But then was an outcast in the wilderness. Remember, I don't know if you remember all this, but once we dive into it, we're going to see details in this that we probably haven't noticed before. We're going to see where God visits Moses in the mysterious flames, remember, the burning bush, and then we're going to see the discussion that follows. We're going to find ourselves in some of these discussions, and I think God is going to unlock many parts of what we've been holding back. I'm very excited about this. Well, after the discussions, Moses agrees to return to Egypt to lead God's people out of slavery. Well, maybe God's going to put us in positions to help lead his people out of prisons and slavery today. There's a lot of self-imposed prisons that people are walking around in. Maybe God is going to use us in a far more way than we ever thought. Pharaoh was confronted, and through the cycle of plagues and promises, made and broken, remember, Israel was torn from his grasp. Imagine what God is getting ready to do by allowing us to study these scriptures. It's going to be phenomenal, you all. When Moses was doing this, you can just imagine that it was not easy. It was not an easy task to mobilize this mass of humanity. But they marched out of Egypt. We're going to see that. We're going to see the Red Sea and all that happened there, into the wilderness behind Moses, and the pillar of the cloud and the fire. We're going to be able to experience this, you all, in the next few weeks in ways that we've never before. I'm just praying that it becomes so real to us that it's as if we're there, and as if modern day hits the Mosaic day in a way that it speaks to us into our more in ways that we couldn't imagine. We're going to see that despite the continual evidence of God's love and power, that the people complained. Oh boy, remember, we're going to hear about that, and how they began to yearn for their old days, even in the slavery. They're going to be so uncomfortable. Moving out of our comfort zone is the only way that's going to get us to our more. But it is uncomfortable, and we're going to see that. And we're going to be able to see how much our actions are lining up either with God's or these people who are just continuously complaining. We're going to see how God provided for their physical and spiritual needs with food and places to worship, but yet how he also judged their disobedience and unbelief. We're going to see the whole spectrum. We're going to find ourselves right there. And we're going to be able to make new choices or better choices, or stay where we are if we're happy in these upcoming weeks. But it's then in the dramatic Sinai meeting with Moses that God gives his laws. Remember, we're going to talk about those. That'll take a while, but it's going to be fun. God led Moses and the nation of Israel, and he wants to lead us as well. Right here in 2024, he wants to come, he wants to sit with us. He wants us to have our own burning bush experiences. He wants to lead us out of any wilderness that we still might be in. He is preparing us, just like he did Moses, for a specific task. Our next task, our next purpose, our next thing to do. What we'll see through this and what we'll be reminded of is that God will be with us the entire time. And he is delivering us from the enemy of temptation. He's delivering us every day from the choices to say, to be able to say yes to him, and to be able to walk out with confidence and courage. You all, what we just need to do is pray for each other so that we can truly trust him and just do what he says each day. Stepping into our more in 24 means saying yes to God, no matter what is required or no matter what he asks, that we just say yes, even when we can't understand. The next few weeks in the book of Exodus, we'll read and we'll study and we will strive to obey his word. We will get up each morning and find our scripture. We'll ask God to open our minds so that we can receive his word and then how to engage it, how to take the next step. How many is excited? Are you excited? I'm so excited about what God is going to do. We're going to discover, I think, God's presence in our lives, in our homes, in our works, in our marriages, in our relationships, in ways that we never did before. Exodus is an exciting, exciting, exciting book of God's guidance. So let's allow him to guide us through these next few weeks. Are you ready? How many's excited? And I know there's fewer on here today, but I just believe, without a doubt, with what we experienced in Genesis and how he became so real and so alive to us even in a different way. I believe that this book of Exodus is going to be an exodus for us in so many areas. I think that we're still holding on or living in, so many of us, with pain and guilt, regret, and I believe shame and all those self-imposed prisons. And I believe that God is saying it's time. It's time to move out. I believe he's saying, get up, leave, take off. Let's step into our more. And I'm excited. So get ready, friends. Tell your friends. It's almost like a new day, a new chapter. So invite your friends. Let's do this together. All right. Well, I love you all so much. Thank you for joining me. I will be posting this so that those who are trying to find us at 9 will find us there. And so have a wonderful day. Please keep us in your prayers as we're filming here all day. So keep us in your prayers, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye, everybody.